I know you just said this, but moving forward, I guess if there's more evidence presented, it can go before the grand jury.
Right. I don't really see how that could happen. I think that if more evidence is found, it's probably not going to be evidence pointing to guilt of Mr. Grisham.
So there's a way you can answer this question. Why would the informant, why would this be?
She was seeking leniency in her own charges, and the reason that the informants wear recording devices when they're working undercover in these drug investigations is because a lot of times their credibility is not very good. Now, I'm speaking generally now of drug investigations. A lot of times the informant's credibility is not good because they are themselves drug users. Sometimes they have drug trafficking charges pending, and that was the situation in this case. She had pending drug trafficking charges where she had been recorded trafficking in drugs, and she volunteered to make other buys for the sheriff's office in return for consideration in her own sentence. I don't know why she went in this direction.
What does this mean for her personally? Does this mean that she does not get leniency, or?
I don't know. We'll see. Okay.
And how long ago did Grisham first find out that he was being investigated?
I don't know. As far as I'm sure he had heard rumors before. Now, the first, I didn't know about the order being made public until last Monday, and I hadn't actually seen the order until last Monday. I did know that an order had been issued trying to seek a special jury panel to see if we could proceed in the way that the judge and I had discussed of getting a special grand jury and so forth.
When you say order, you mean order for a grand jury to investigate to see?
Yeah, right. The order of April 22nd that sparked all the controversy or the publicity.
How did it become public? Do you guys know?
I don't know. Somebody between April 22nd and April 24th obtained a copy of it and decided to disseminate that information to the media.
You have no idea who it is?
I do not know who it was.
Is there being an investigation into who did this? Or see how it was done?
I think there probably will be people looking into how that happened.
And have you had a chance to talk to Judge Grisham?
But that in itself wouldn't necessarily be something that was illegal. To do that, it's something that's was unfair, maybe, but not illegal. And it could be somebody who just thought the public needed to know because they thought there was more to it, because they did not know what the investigation was. Just that there was an investigation pending is enough to taint a person in a lot of people's minds.
And have you talked to Judge Executive Grisham?
Not since last Wednesday, when he offered to take the polygraph.
So he doesn't know yet that the grand jury is not pursuing this?
No.
I imagine he'll be relieved.
I imagine he will. He was not available today because of the funeral of his mother. So.
But do you think his claim during this whole time that he kept on saying this is dirty Eastern Kentucky politics at its finest?
I think whoever disseminated that on Saturday was politically motivated. Whoever that was.
Okay. Well.
And if they had not done that, we would have not had to go ahead and present this like we have in a as prompt a manner.
So you think it may be somewhat for everybody's benefit that this happened? I mean, it stinks that it happened, obviously, for him, that it happened. At least it gives him a couple weeks to do some damage control from what happened. Because now he's been exonerated.
Right, he has been exonerated. And it's the issue of fairness, because I knew that we would not have the special grand jury before the primary. And I felt like it was fundamentally unfair for me to know that there was no case against him. The Attorney General's office had said there was no case. The grand jury has now said there's no case. And I knew that, and I knew that he'd passed a polygraph, and I felt that it was just fundamentally unfair to let this hang over his head until after the primary election, and then have a grand jury return a no true bill in July or August or whenever they could finally get around to hearing it. And by that time, the damage had been suffered, and in the meantime, he'd had this over his head for months and months, and neighbors talking about him, and people his children wondering about why is my dad in the paper about all this, and that's just not right. I mean, I knew about the investigation. I felt it had to be brought right now because it's the right thing to do. That's all.
And are you glad that a resolution was reached now?
Yes, I think that was fair. I think that was the fair thing to do. And on the other hand, if there had been evidence sufficient to indict him, I would have felt that was perfectly fair too. If the evidence had been there to indict him, it's better to do that promptly also, rather than let it hang out there.
And
Matter of fact, more so. I would not want, more so I would want to come to bring it promptly. The reason that I was not in a rush to do it and was willing to go with the special grand jury proceedings was because I didn't think it was urgent, because it wasn't something that was really, it was just rumor. And also I knew that it wasn't something where we were going to have somebody win who was in fact a drug dealer. And it wasn't going to affect the election, I thought. But to have it work out this way, I think we needed to go ahead and get that case to the grand jury and get it presented, and so we did.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you want to say?
That's all.
All right.
I want to ask something.
Okay.
You talked about it becoming public. This was going to be done. When was the public going to know if it hadn't became public when it did? I mean, the Attorney General, you, and everybody that investigated said, there's nothing there.
Right.
But for the trust issue, public trust issue,
Right.
go ahead and have the grand jury seated. When were we going to know about this?
When-
if it hadn't been?
When all of that, when that had been completed, when there had been a no true bill returned by the special grand jury, that would have been reported, I'm sure, because that's public information.
Is that common that you would not know about a grand jury investigation until it's over?
I don't think it's very unusual. I think a lot of times people who are being investigated don't know it. Especially drug trafficking cases. Most of them do not know that there has been a controlled buy made by an informant until an indictment's returned.
And the charge presented was on drug trafficking,
Right.
and drug
Right.
trafficking alone.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
That's-
how long was this investigation?
It was from about September of last year up through, fairly recently.
And outside of the sheriff's office, no one really knew.
Well, no other people knew. I mean, the Attorney General's office knew.
Yeah.
At least one federal prosecutor knew. Different people knew.
Okay. Well, that's
Also, word had leaked out, and other people knew because it was on the internet. That this was going on, just in the form of rumor.